So good morning to everyone there. I wish I had the opportunity to be present there. I'm sure there is a real interesting lineup and a group of participants that are very learned. I'm certain that our collective vision for all children is that for every child to grow up happy, healthy, confident, and respected as individuals, as rights holders. I'm also certain that our hearts go out to all the children living in war zones and armed conflicts around the world, as all of us present here know that no war is ever a consequence of children's actions. And yet, millions of children are living in fear of their lives and their families due to conflicts which they have no part in or control over. 1 billion children across the world are estimated that are presently suffering and are victims of all sorts of violence. Unfortunately, we are presently experiencing the atrocity of the war on European soil. The war in Ukraine is a war on children. The millions of Ukrainian children fleeing their families, homes, and country is testament to this. Half of all Ukrainian children have already moved out of their country, while most of all the children still in Ukraine are displaced. As we all know, the Ukrainian war has particularly aggravated the situations of uncertainty, instability, risk, and danger for children, as we have been hearing from organizations and volunteers on the ground, experts, academics, and practitioners today, that the risks and dangers for Ukrainian children are unimaginable. This crisis created by the war is jeopardizing not only their development and their future, but is also jeopardizing their very own lives. The war in Ukraine is having a devastating impact on the 7.5 million Ukrainian children. Humanitarian needs are multiplying by the hour. Children continue to be killed, wounded, and deeply traumatized by the violence all around them. Families are terrified and shocked and desperate for safety. We hear of horrendous stories of what is happening. We hear of how children are being sent, even unaccompanied by their own parents, across borders, even to give them a chance to save their lives. We hear that many civil society organizations are on the ground giving support and assistance. We hear from them of the heightened risk of human trafficking and exploitation for children fleeing the war in Ukraine. We hear of a much needed harmonized registration and identification system as an essential part of our protection systems. I therefore take the opportunity to urge all authorities and governments to step up their protection systems to be able to secure the safety of Ukrainian children and all migrant children that reach European soil. Indeed, Europe is experiencing a child protection emergency on an unprecedented scale. Authorities must look further than securing basic material needs where children are concerned. We need harmonized registration and identification systems within all child protection systems. We need strengthened child protection systems to ensure that all possible deterrents are in place so that no child fleeing the war will go missing for any reason, but even more so due to human trafficking and exploitation. I believe that now is the time for the child policy instruments put forward recently by the European Union, including the Child's Rights Strategy and the European Child Guarantee, to ensure the effective and their immediate implementation to help alleviate the suffering of children as a result of war in Ukraine. Furthermore, I believe that now is the time for Europe to further strengthen and harmonize child protection systems across the Union. Article 19 of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child clearly states that we need to protect children from all forms of physical or mental violence, injury or abuse, neglect or negligent treatment, maltreatment or exploitation, including sexual violence. We are all obliged to do this. We have a responsibility to our children to see this through. We need to consider also the long-term effects of war on children. We need to act to minimize the terrible effects on children's education, including early childhood development and care, health and mental health, including perinatal mental health, and their holistic well-being. The children of Ukraine, like all other children in war-torn countries, are exposed to danger and harm. They are exposed to further long-term effects as they are denied their right to education and consequently are denied a solid foundation on which to build their future. While preparing for my contribution today, I remembered what Ms. Virginia Gamba, the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children and Armed Conflict, stated, and I quote, "Education is an absolute necessity, not just for children themselves, but also for global peace, stability, and prosperity for all. Schools should be treated as sanctuaries, and that is our common responsibility to ensure that every child has access to an education, even at times of conflict. In view of this, I call on the international community to affirm the need to ensure that schools, even in war zones and areas of conflicts, are endorsed as a safe space for children to commit to the avoidance of explosive weapons in schools and surrounding areas, and hold perpetrators of violations to account for grave violations of children's human rights." I would also like to quote a part of the Save the Children Charter on ending the war on children, which rightly states that we should all strive to end the deliberate and indiscriminate attacks that kill and maim children, to end the recruitment and use of children by armed forces and groups, and ending the detention of children allegedly associated with armed forces or groups, to end the abduction of children in conflict, to stop all sexual violence and other forms of gender-based violence against children. Here, I would like to take the opportunity to remind President Putin and all the Russian authorities that Russia too is party to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and therefore they are also responsible as much as everyone to put an end to the fighting and work with all genuine actors for sustainable peace, if they too want that all children, including Russian children, to thrive and prosper all through their lives. As president of Eurochild, I firmly reiterate Eurochild's stand against the invasion of Ukraine. At Eurochild, we know firsthand from civil society organizations on the ground, through its initiative of the open sessions for solidarity, that more effective and harmonized registration and protection systems are urgently needed. As president of Eurochild, I commit that we will continue our work to defend the right of every child, no matter their country of birth, to a safe, happy, and healthy childhood. Eurochild has advocated with decision makers in the European Union institutions to act in the face of such a tragedy by sharing our members' experiences and needs, both in Ukraine and in the neighboring countries. In practical terms, Eurochild has collected a list of useful resources giving practical information and context for anyone coming in contact with children needing help as a result of war in Ukraine. Eurochild also established open spaces for solidarity sessions to share information between members in Ukraine and across Europe. I would like to reiterate the emphasis on the need for a unified system for identification and registration. Only such a system can play a vital role in protecting children, ensuring their safety and the needed support. I will close with a quote from Graça Machel Mandela, an international advocate for women and children's rights, when she stated, "The impact of armed conflict on children is everyone's responsibility, and it must be everyone's concern." Thank you.
Thank you very much to Her Excellency Marie-Louise President of Eurochild. Thank you.